My name is Edith Salen. I'm 102 years old. And tonight, for the first time in 83 years, I'm going to play the piano again. Not because I want to, because I owe someone a goodbye. I used to play every day. They called me a prodigy. I could play with my eyes closed, like the piano was part of my heartbeat. But after 1942 I stopped. The last time I played was in a locked room with no windows. It was supposed to be a hiding place, but it felt more like a tomb. My husband, David, and I were on the run. We had nowhere to go, so someone hid us in a storage room beneath an old church. There was a piano there, broken keys, out of tune, covered in dust. But it was all we had. For over a year, David asked me to play, said it reminded him of a time before sirens and whispers. So I played, even when we were cold, even when we were hungry, even when silence felt safer. And on the coldest night of that winter, when his hands were too numb to hold mine, he asked me to play something happy. I played Clair de Lune. He died before I reached the final note. When I was rescued, I was no longer a girl, just skin, bones, and grief. I left the piano behind and I swore never to play again. Life moved forward. I remarried. I had children. I lost many. I smiled when I had to, but the room never left me. It came back in dreams, in the quiet, in the cracks of everyday life. And always I could hear David saying, "Just one more song, Edith." So tonight, after 83 years, I sat down at my granddaughter's piano. My fingers, old, fragile, still remembered. And as I played, I wasn't 102 anymore. I was 19, in that hidden room, with the man I loved, with no windows, no escape, no time left. He never got his final song, so tonight he will.
My name is Thomas Elridge. I am 96 years old. I haven't walked in 37 years. They say it was a stroke that took my legs, but the truth is I lost them long before that. I used to dance, not well, but enough to make her laugh. Her name was Lillian. She was everything, bright, fast, full of color. We met in 1951. She heard me play the violin in a smoke-filled bar. I was no one, just a man with a bow and a pocket full of sadness. She came up after the set, looked me in the eyes and said, "Play something that hurt," and I did every night after that. We were married 3 years later. We had a boy, and for a while life felt full, real, loud, but life as it does grew quiet. Lillian got sick, fast, a kind of silence you can't fight. I stopped playing the day she died, packed away the violin and rolled into silence. Our boy moved away, said he couldn't bear the house without her in it. I didn't blame him. I sat in this chair for decades. People thought I couldn't move because of my legs, but it wasn't that. It was the weight of memory. And then, 3 weeks ago, my grandson found my violin. He handed it to me with both hands, said, "Grandpa, I want to hear the song that made her fall in love with you. I hadn't touched it in over 40 years. The strings were brittle, the wood dry, but the moment I held it, she was there. In the air, in the silence, in the ache. I played, and I didn't stop. Tonight, you'll hear it too. Not because I'm trying to remember her, but because I know she's been waiting to hear it one more time. This song is all that's left of the man I used to be."
My name is Margaret Eloise Hartman. I am 100 years old, and tonight, for the first time in 77 years, I will play the piano again. When I was a girl, music was everything. My mother played piano, my father sang. Our house was never quiet. Every Sunday I'd sit beside my mother as her fingers danced across the keys. She taught me how to play before I could even read. Chopin, Debussy, Gershwin. My hands were small, but she said I had the soul of an old composer. Then the war came, and with it, silence. My parents were taken. The piano was shattered during a raid. I was 23rd, alone. I fled to England with nothing but the clothes on my back and a piece of sheet music my mother had written for me, unfinished. I kept it hidden in the lining of my coat. Years passed. I married, had children. I became a librarian. I told myself the past belonged on shelves. I never touched another piano again. But I never forgot that melody. I would hear it in my dreams, those first few notes my mother wrote, repeating endlessly, begging to be finished. 2 months ago I fell ill. They said my time is short. But yesterday, my granddaughter Emma wheeled in a piano. It wasn't ours. It was newer, cleaner, but the keys felt the same beneath my fingers, and taped to the side was that sheet of music, yellowed, torn, but still waiting. So tonight, I will finish what my mother started, not for fame, not for applause, but because music is the only way I know how to say goodbye. This is for her. This is for all that was lost. This is the last note.
Appreciate it.
My name is Elias. I'm 110 years old, and tonight I want to play you a song on the violin. But the truth is, I don't know how to play. Not really. You see, this violin, it belonged to my daughter. She was a musician, a brilliant one. She used to say music was the language of the soul. I never understood that until I lost her. 2 months ago, there was an accident, a car crash. She hasn't opened her eyes since. They told me to prepare for the worst, said she might never wake up. But that night I went home, sat alone in the dark, and found a video. It was from my 100th birthday. She was playing this violin, this very violin. She played a melody she'd written just for me. I must have watched that video 100 times. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just sat there listening. Then I picked up her violin, cracked, splintered from the crash, and I decided to learn. I was just an old man with trembling hands, fading hearing, and no clue how to form a single note. But I had time. That's all I had left. So I slowed the video down, studied her fingers, rewound it again and again, listened, memorized, tried. I stopped taking my sleeping pills. My wife told me I needed to rest, said I was too old for this, that I'd only end up hurting myself. Maybe she was right, but I didn't stop. Every night, while the world slept, I played. I played until my fingers cracked and bled, until my joints screamed, until my eyes could barely stay open. Because that melody, her melody, was the last thing she gave me. And maybe, if I could just play it back, she'd hear me, wherever she was. So on Friday, I went to the hospital, sat by her side, and I played. It wasn't perfect. My hands shook. I missed a few notes, but I played her song, the one she wrote for her old man. And when the last note faded, her finger twitched, her eyes moved, and then she opened them. The doctors called it a miracle. I just call it music, so no, I'm not a violinist. I'm not here to show you skill. I'm here because I'm still her father. Because this violin, this song, it's the only thing I have left. And tonight I want you to hear it. This is for her.
My name is Thomas Eddings. I'm 98 years old, and tonight I wear this uniform not for pride, but for a promise. This violin, it's older than my war scars. I haven't played it in nearly 70 years, not since the day I buried my brother, not since the day the music stopped meaning joy. We were boys pretending to be men. Two kids from Kansas who signed up because we thought duty meant glory. It didn't. His name was Samuel, my twin. He played the piano. I played the violin. We used to practice in our father's barn. And even during the war, when we had 5 minutes of quiet, we'd hum parts of Mozart or grin about how we'd start a little music shop together when we came home. But in 1945, during a mission in France, we got ambushed. Bullets, fire, screaming, then silence. When I found him, he was still clutching a crumpled sheet of music. His chest wasn't moving. I screamed his name until my throat tore. They gave me a medal. I threw it away. What good is a medal when the one person who made life bearable is gone? I came back. I survived, but I left everything else behind. I never played again. Couldn't. The strings hurt too much. Not my fingers, but my heart. I married, had kids, told them I was a hero, but I knew the truth. I was just the one who lived. And yet, last week I found his old sheet music, the one he carried the day he died. The corners still torn, blood still faintly staining the margins. And I heard him, his voice, his laugh, the way he'd call me Tommy Boy. So tonight, I wear this uniform not to be saluted, but to say sorry. I play this violin not because I still can, but because I never did. This music, this trembling melody, is for the boy who never came home, for the brother who died with a dream in his pocket, and for every soldier who gave the music of their life for a silence we can never repay. This song is the only medal that ever mattered.
Appreciate it.
My name is Victor Leonard. I'm 97 years old, and this is Anna, she's 96. We haven't played together in 79 years. Tonight, you are not just hearing music, you are hearing silence, broken. You are hearing time trying to heal. We met in 1944, a small music school in southern France. I played the violin, she played the piano. We were just kids with aching hearts and too many dreams. She had a laugh that made you forget the war. I had a melody in my head I could never finish until I heard her play. And somehow, just like that, the notes made sense. We wrote a piece together. It wasn't grand, it wasn't complicated. It was gentle, like a whisper from someone you love in the dark. We called it Unspoken because we never said how we felt. We were too young, too scared. And then one night she disappeared. There was no goodbye, no letter, no trace, just empty space where she used to sit. I was told her family fled the country. I searched. God knows I searched for years. But she was gone. I joined the resistance, survived the war, but I never finished the piece. I couldn't, because the other half of it was missing. Decades passed. I married, lost my wife, buried friends, outlived enemies. But Anna, she lived only in the music we never played. Then 3 months ago, my nurse brought me a letter from a music archive in Lyon. A woman named Anna Duval had submitted an old composition. It was called Unspoken. I couldn't breathe. My hands shook so hard I dropped the paper. But I called the number, and when she answered, I knew it was her. We met again, two broken bodies, one shared memory, no words, just a piano and a violin waiting. And tonight, we will play the song we wrote as children, the song we never got to share, the melody that outlived war, time, silence, and sorrow. We're not here to be perfect. Our fingers tremble. Our notes may fall apart, but our hearts remember. And that is enough. Thank you for listening to our last song.
My name is Anton Petrov. I'm 101 years old, and this is a violin. I haven't played it in over 80 years. But every year, on this day, I bring it here, to this train station, to this same bench, and I sit, and I wait. I was 21 when the war began, a small village near Kyiv. My mother died young, and my father worked the rail lines. I grew up among smoke and steel, but my heart belonged to music. I saw her at this very platform. Her name was Sophia. She had a blue ribbon in her hair and a worn book of Chopin in her hand. She smiled like someone who had never known war, and somehow she loved me. Every Sunday I played for her. No stage, no audience, just trains coming and going and the sound of my violin singing for her. In 1943, they took her. I begged, I screamed, I offered myself in her place, but they pulled her away. Before she vanished, she turned and whispered, "Wait for me. One day I'll return," on the 6:20 train. After that, I never played again. The war ended. Cities were rebuilt, but my heart was not. Every year since, on this very day, I return to this bench with this violin, and I wait. They told me to move on. They said she was gone. But true love doesn't keep time. It only keeps faith. Last year, a woman sat beside me, elderly, quiet, in her hands a tattered Chopin book. Without a word, she gave me a letter. Inside was a photo. Sophia, older, wrinkled, but alive. She had survived, sent to a labor camp, escaped, but she thought I had forgotten her. The woman said, "She passed away 2 months ago, but before she died, she said, 'There's a man at a train station with a violin and a broken heart. Find him.' So here I am, 101 years old, and tonight, for the first time in 80 years, I will play."